What is up, guys? Welcome back to day 12 of Doing Every Day. Now, today I'm pretty excited for what's on the agenda. Now, what I do most of my time on YouTube is I spend it watching people like Modern Investor, Alex Cobb, the Digital Asset Investor, and a few others. And I've always really enjoyed the content that they put out, how they do it, and I've always sort of wanted to do it myself. So today, I am going to give my opinion on the crypto space, but more specifically, XRP and why I invest in XRP as a way to sort of fulfill these dreams of mine within the last year or two of doing a video and pretending to be the modern investor Alex Cobb, digital asset investor, for just one day. So, just to be clear, I don't have any news articles. We'll have a chart up for a little bit, but I just wanted to express my opinions and my thinking as an investor about XRP. So let's get into it. So, XRP, I really think of three main reasons that I invest in XRP, and they're probably different, at least a couple of them, than most of the other people that I talk to, and maybe even yourselves. And initially, most people say the tech. Well, the technology actually isn't on my list as a reason why I invest in XRP. It's important, but as we know from many innovations in the past, the best tech isn't always the tech that wins in the end. So, three reasons. The number one reason why I believe XRP is going to succeed, which is why I invest in it, is because yes, they're solving a real issue, but their strategy to implement their solution of the issue is very legitimate. And what that entails is essentially working as close as they can with regulators. And I'm assuming that every one of you that are watching XRP videos, you're pretty up to date with the news and how XRP is working with regulators and a little bit of the dummy tech about it. So I'm not going to dive deep into that. More so just the reasons, the deeper reasons why it's a good investment. And they're working with regulators. And it's sort of the idea, crypto has sort of had this anarchist type of view where everything has to be, like fit anarchy essentially, where it's just totally overthrowing the systems, by not working within the systems. But have you ever heard the expression that in order to change the system, you have to be in the system? And that's what I really think of XRP as doing is, maybe it's not ideal, but as a strategy, it is. Because my opinion, and there's a lot of evidence that sort of supports this, is that banks, they're not going away. There is too much wealth concentrated in these areas for them to just disappear. Now, does that mean that they're going to exist how they exist currently? Definitely not. And that's what many people don't understand about XRP is XRP isn't here to help them continue doing the operations that, that they've done for the last hundreds of years. Rather, it's a way to help their operations improve in a way that satisfies the customers, us, better. Because the banks have sort of monopolized money and they haven't really had to listen to their customers much. And as a result, customers are very unhappy. The 2008 financial crash was, a totally different story, but pretty indicative of, the banks not listening to their customers. And I think XRP, they're working with the system in order to change the system to fit the customer's needs, but at the same time benefit the banks so that they will use it, right? So it's not the tech that's the biggest part of it. It's how they're implementing the tech. and working within the system to change the system, it's brilliant, and they're doing an amazing job, and not just anyone can do that. Very high barrier to entry. So everything I hear about them working with new institutions, new banks, on different forums, is always a good sign. And Christine Lagarde, head at the IMF, it's so crazy that she always says that digital assets will have a place in the financial system in the future, and not coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's like, not coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we know how tight she is with the Ripple team and Brad, and it's just like you're singling out the ones that aren't, but you're not mentioning the third on the list, XRP. And man, it just, you don't want to get too tinfoil hat, as Alex Cobb would always say, but it's just something that really, it could be totally false, but it feels right. So that is my number one reason for investing in XRP. Now, number two, I consider myself a focused investor. And what that means is, really, I don't diversify across 20, 30 different assets. What I do is I understand the assets that I do invest in extremely well, with which inevitably takes away from how well I can understand the 20, 30 assets. So my smaller basket of different assets is more focused, with heavier positions in each of those assets. Let's just say, for example, only 3 to 5, right? And the reason I do this is so that I can research and get as much information on each one of those as possible, to where I understand the asset, the investment, the entire playing field better than 95% of the people out there. And if that's something you can achieve, then you essentially achieve asymmetrical information. And when it comes to the financial markets, information is king. And it's sort of like knowing a public company's quarterly expectation report before they come out with it. Now, it's not that extreme of a scenario, but that's really what I aim to do, is to understand it and know what little things around the periphery of the asset, or how it's going to affect it, and what things are already in motion to do so. And so with that reason, I had initially heard about XRP, where it was very, very disliked by most of the people in the crypto space. And whenever I hear one thing, one person, one asset just getting criticized, and I never hear anything good about it, that is what always sparks my interest into it. So after hearing how it was such a terrible asset, I started looking into it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense too. That makes sense. That's me. And it just kept piling on. And I was like, wow, there is a lot of misinformation, which this is nothing groundbreaking. This is not a groundbreaking discovery. So much misinformation about it. And one of the main reasons I attribute that to is the cryptocurrency industry's, immaturity. It's at its very small size, to where it's basically just some of the early adopters, where there's a lot of emotion in everything that's going on. And I relate it to, if you ever hear a song for the first time and no one else has heard of that song, and you love that song so much, and then it becomes popular, and you're like, F these guys, like, whatever. I found it first. Like, you take ownership over it. And that's what I'm seeing in the crypto space. It's where people are taking ownership over certain things, just because it is so new and it's not, mainstream yet. And when that happens, there's always going to be a villain, right? And currently, less so now. But once I started getting an XRP was that villain. And it just made me wonder why it was that villain. And after I realized it was only a villain, mainly due to misinformation, it just really flipped on a light to me to say that there's a lot of herd mentality, right? Even people that are core in the cryptocurrency industry, there's a lot of herd mentality. One person says something and the other person repeats it, and then the next person repeats it to sound cool, to sound like they know what they're talking about. And it's just a downward spiral. But people forget, like, yes, there's a lot of tech, it's a fun industry, it's new, but people forget why you invest money. Or maybe some people invest money just to have friends and tell people they invest in something. But I invest money to make a return. So I don't give a shit about what people say about something. If it's untrue, then I don't care. If I think it's going to make me money, then I go for it, because that's what you do for investing. You don't invest in like different companies just because it's cool, right? I think maybe actually people are doing that right now, and that sucks for them because they were probably buying around 18,000 Bitcoin when Bitcoin was 18,000. So as a focused investor, yes, everything has to line up in terms of viability of the business model, the team, and the opportunities that they're able to capitalize on. But most importantly, you always buy at a discount. And if it's not the right timing, then you never buy. And with cryptocurrency, or in the regular financial markets like the stock market, it's a much easier to value assets because they have earnings, they have all these reports, shareholder meetings, and you can get inside and get the information. With crypto, you don't have that. And with such a new asset, it's really no perfect way to value something. So how I valued XRP as a discount wasn't based on price, wasn't just based on dips. It was based on totally social cues. It's like I already understood the way it was working, the viability of everything. So the foundation was set. Now look, with that foundation, you're looking for discounts. And the idea that the cryptocurrency market is so small, there's low liquidity, and XRP has so much hate and so many people that just dislike it. It's okay that they do, but so many people that dislike it, that affects the price. There's less people buying that asset. It definitely affects it at this stage. Now, it's not as important once you get to the scale of like Apple and you're in the stock market, but it has an effect on it, especially at the infancy of the cryptocurrency market today. Now, that misinformation and all this hate is where I saw XRP's discount, and let's just say this is the value of XRP with normal hate. There's always going to be someone that hates something. This is XRP's value with normal hate. With the amount of hate XRP gets, this is where it's actually currently valued at. And that is the discount that I really, really saw. And, it's ultimately what makes me feel most comfortable about the investment, because there is asymmetrical information out there. People don't understand it, and or understand the environment, or understand that change isn't just going to happen in a decade where there aren't going to be any banks. Then where are you going to put your money? You don't have a bank. Where are you going to put your money? Okay, put it on your Ledger Nano S. Put it on your hardware wallet. Yeah, but most people don't want to do that. Banks will still be around. So XRP is hopefully and is working very diligently to work with these banks to ultimately give the people like us, like you, better service. Now, I think that about does it for the main reasons why I invest in XRP. And again, we didn't dive into the tech, but regulation, so important. how they're working with regulators and how they're essentially working within the system to change the system. And I think we're seeing fruits from that experiment or strategy rather. Two, buying it at a discount. Just the PR of XRP within the core cryptocurrency scene is what I see XRP becoming or at a discount, just socially. And then once that social barrier, just from a few more steps of validation, is completed, then I think we'll start seeing it hit more of its value because there's just normal hate at that point. And now that's two reasons, and I said I was going to give three reasons. But guys, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I totally forgot the third reason, and I don't have anything written down or anything. So bear with me. Thank you for letting me do this and looking at it, or watching it. But let me know what you think, or don't. Like it or dislike it. Totally up to you. These are my thoughts. This is not financial advice. I don't know shit. But those are some of my reasons for investing in XRP that may not be as common as others. Very more so deep reasons why that it is a solid investment. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Day 12 of doing every day. And man, I hope. Oh, we can look at this really quick. The cup and handle. I did this video last night. I hope this is accurate because we'll start seeing a little bit more of a bump in the price just to kind of keep you guys, a little more satisfied. But just patience, Everything takes time. So thank you guys. See you next time. Peace.